Hello and welcome back, Transformer TCG fans. Okay, what I'm going to be looking at today is sort of the difference between Press the Advantage and Scraplets, and why I like Scraplets so much. For one, Press the Advantage is an Autobot card. It makes it a faction card, and it was overstrong and favored the Autobots in a lot of the early decks and early on. I mean, it's a card from Wave 2 of all things, that gave the Autobots more attack and taking 2 defense away from the Autobots. And it's an orange and green pip card, so you could have gotten it on the flip. It's an aggressive on the flip. Choose one of your Autobots. It gets +2 to attack until end of turn. Choose an enemy Decepticon. It gets -2 defense until end of turn. And then it also has the reminder that, a character's defense can't be below 0. So I can see why this was pulled early. Because it gave one side, because at the time we only had 2 factions. It gave the Autobots a real advantage for Press the Advantage. It was, of course, I believe it is a rare card, but still, it was just, I can see how dangerous it was back then. Now, if we look at my Scraplets card, it is not aggressive on the flip. It is a blue-green. You can get it on the swap after the flip. For anybody, it is not a faction card. Excuse me as I get my cheat sheet. Okay, so with Scraplets, when this is played for turn, your defender has -1 defense. You may play another Scraplets card. So it is very similar to Press the Advantage, but it's not. Again, a character's defense cannot be below 0. So if they only have a total defense of 2, if your defender is playing more with first of all, the Scraplets is not giving anyone an advantage, any faction, Autobot, Decepticon, Maximal, Predacon, Quintesson, whatever. It's not it is not favoring any faction. 2, you can still get it on the flip, just like Press the Advantage with the green pip. And it is a defensive on the flip, not an aggressive on the flip, because it's blue and not orange. And then another thing, if you use Press the Advantage, if your total is 9 for attack, your defender's total is 6. Then now with Press the Advantage, your Autobot has an attack of 11 instead of 9. Your enemy's Decepticon has a defense of 4 instead of 6. So it's making that attack gap pretty wide, that damage gap pretty wide. Whereas Scraplets is giving the character an edge on attack at the expense of defense. It's not just giving attack and taking away defense. So if you're and you can play 3, but you have to have 3 cards to do it, to take away defense. So you have to hold them onto your hand. It's not just 1 card. It's only taking 1 defense off an enemy, a character at a time. When this is played for turn, your defender has -1 defense. You may play another Scraplets card. Okay, so it's not giving your attacker more attack per se, but now if say your defender only has 2 defense. Well, if they have a blue deck, they could flip more than 2, so their defense could be greater than that after the battle. So it's a little more of a kind of a risk to play all 3 at the same time. If you have all 3 in your hand, if you've been keeping them up through a couple of battles, okay? It's not just one boom, Press the Advantage action card and go, boom, my attack is not 9, it's 11. Your defense is now 4, not 6. Okay, so Scraplets, in a sense, is if say you only have 2 in your hand, it's getting close to the end of the game, maybe. Maybe not the last turn, but one of the last turns of the game. And you're trying to get a bigger bite out of the character, and you're like, well, I didn't get my 3 Scraplet cards in my hand, I've gotten 2. And yes, there's other cards that are stronger than this, like Calculated Strike, or something else, or the star card. It's not as strong as, say, a Plasma Burst, which automatically can give you +2 to attack, or Blade Fury +4 to attack as long as you have a weapon, etc. Or even Last Stand that gives you +5 for attack until end of turn, but then you have to KO your character. I was trying to search for that star card that can give you +3. Then Bolt. It's on the. I can see it. I just forgot the name of it. That can give you +3 to attack. So, Scraplets is not that strong of a card, but you can get it on the flip, unlike some of these other cards. Okay, so if your let's say your total attack is 9. Their defense was 2, but they flipped, so now their total defense is 4. And you played, let's say, all 3 Scraplet cards. Well, and you had them all, and you was like, maybe they're probably going to flip some blue, so I'm going to play all 3. So now your attack is still 9. It hasn't gone any more than 9, but now their defense is they flipped 2 more blue, so their total defense is 4. But it's still 9 to 4. Your attack really isn't going up per se, but their defense is now 1 instead of 4. Okay, so the damage is 8. It's not making your attack go up to 11 and their defense going down to 2, which would be like a damage of 9. With Press the Advantage, but with Scraplets, it makes it more like a damage of 8. So it's not quite as strong in that regard. So there is that. It's not a very strong card. I have it as an uncommon, but it would be great for your blue decks because it's kitty cat. No. So the things to think about. It's just nice to be able to get this on the flip. It is similar to Press the Advantage, but it is not Press the Advantage. It's only giving your chosen character extra attack at the expense of the enemy's defense. Okay, it's not just giving attack and taking away defense. So I think that's sort of the beauty here with this Scraplets card. Which I will admit is pretty nifty. And it's, again, like I started off with, it is not faction based. Anybody can play this. Anybody can add this in with their blue decks and help scrape off defense. Now, if they're playing with a more aggressive deck, their defense is only 2. You played all 3. It's only going to take off the 2 defense if they don't flip any blue. So you just wasted a Scraplet card. So something to think about. It's not going to give you +3 to attack because you played 3 Scraplets. No. That's not how this works. So if you say your attack was 8, their defense was 2, your damage is still 8. It's not going to be any more than that. Okay, so because you can't have a defense less than 0. So playing all 3 of them at one time, if they only have a total of 2 defense, or flipped only, total of 2, then it's not going to go less than that. You're not going to get any more attack because they don't have any more defense. Okay, so it's just that simple. Now, if you want to mentally go, oh, well, your total defense is 3. I played my Scraplets card. My attack of 5 is now up to 8, and you want to subtract 8 minus 3. That's fine too. That still works. It's still a difference of 5. But if your attack is 5, their defense is 3, and you take off the, defense of you play all 3, and their defense goes down to 0. It's still a damage of 5. Okay, and it's not pierce. That's the beauty of Scraplets. It's that its attack. It's kind of adding your attack without adding pierce. Kind of like what Calculated Strike does. It's not just giving you +2 to attack, it's also giving you 2 pierce. So we're going way back to the beginning of the game. In Scraplets was one of the first cards I ever made. And while I may not be the smartest, the brightest bulb in the bunch here of the Transformers TCG family, I will admit that. I think this is a really neat card, and I don't know if anyone else has come up with this. ATP did like 9 waves. The ARC has done 1 really good wave, and when I was playing against Buddy, it seemed like the ARC cards were just almost too strong. When he added some 2 or 3 5 ARC cards against my deck of some of my homemade crap, I got beaten every single time. Or even if I didn't add any cards and I was just using just official cards, I would get beaten every single time. And I'm like, dang, these cards, those cards are strong. So that's all really. I didn't mean to go over 10 minutes talking about Scraplets and Press the Advantage, but here we are. So if you like this content, at least, this is one of the few videos that I've ever done mentioning strategy, going a little more in depth of the game to explain kind of where my Scraplets card comes from, which is an idea was Press the Advantage, but at the same time, that was a happy accident because I was trying to use Scraplets, and I'm thinking, okay, we need to incorporate this into the game, and I'm thinking, what did Scraplets do in the comic or in the series for the IP as a whole? And I'm thinking, okay, and I was originally going to do it more than 1, and I thought that might be too strong. Let's just do 1. Let you play. If you play 1, you can play another, be able to get it on the flip, etc. So it can take a while to get all 3 in your hand if you want to be able to play them all 3 at one time. So there's that. It is a blue pip action card for what it is, and throw Scraplets at that like button if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and as always, Autobots, flip out and let's roll.